Okay. Hello. Welcome. How are you guys all doing today? I hope you guys are good. I'm just going to give TikTok a second to notify everyone that I'm going live. Welcome, Zoo. Or ZU. Welcome, Aki. Thank you, Call Me for the Roses. How are you guys all doing? Thank you so much, Call Me for the Roses. I'm giving TikTok a second to just notify everyone that I'm going live, and then we'll start. We'll hop into the topic. Okay. I'm having an interesting week, just self-reflecting and figuring out different things. A lot of people have been reaching out as usual, asking for advice. And so I wanted to hop on and talk about what makes a successful marriage. Like, in my opinion, the one thing that truly makes a successful marriage. And that is respect, right? If you're seeing me for the first time, make sure you follow Collectively Married. But we'll dive into it. What is respect, right? What is respect? Because some people are like, I'm not gonna bow down to my husband, even though, you know, there's a hadith that say that the Prophet ﷺ said that if he were to command a woman to bow down to anyone, he would command her to bow down to her husband. So that's just one level.
One sec. Okay, these are here, and then these are here.
Thank you. So we're gonna talk about it. What does respect look like? Right off the bat, whenever I'm having this conversation with any woman, I always give them the same advice. I'm like, how do you treat your boss? How do you treat your teachers? How do you treat your father? You know what respect is. Now you just have to translate that from outside of your home into your home and give that respect to your husband, because he is deserving of it. And even if you don't think I should respect him, Allah already said you should respect him. Allah said it is his right to be respected. It is his right to be obeyed. That's why it's super important that you pick a good husband or a good wife, because that's going to be the man you're going to follow. So when you pick a good husband, that's the man you're going to follow. When you pick a good wife, that's the woman that's going to follow you. So sometimes men will say, she's disrespectful. Like, you know, when things get too crazy, they'll say she's disrespectful. You know, maybe they'll hit a woman or something. And I always say, no. There's never an excuse. And most men will say, oh, she deserves it. And I say no for hitting a woman. There's no excuse for hitting a woman. And the reason why I say this is because you allowed the disrespect to go. You allowed it. It never gets to that level straight from the beginning. It's usually you allowed a tone, you allowed someone to talk to you a certain way, you allowed someone to treat you a certain way, and you kept being quiet about it. And then at some point you just got so mad you blew up, and that was the reaction. And so you have to be aware of yourself and aware of, one, respecting yourself enough to be like, hey, I'm not going to date women that are disrespectful. If she talks to me a certain way, if I tell her, hey, I don't like that outfit, and she like looks at me like, what's wrong with you? Maybe that's not the woman for me, you know? You have to have that level of confidence in yourself, and you have to understand that, and respect for yourself. Because it'll never get to any ratchet situation if you're able to pin down from the beginning, that's not the person for me. And same with women. Women say, oh, I don't want to obey my husband. I'm like, no, you picked a bad husband. She'll be like, my husband is rude to me, is disrespectful, doesn't take care of me, doesn't pay the bills. Why the hell should I respect him? That doesn't have to do with respect to husband. That has to do with you picked a bad husband. So it's super important from the beginning to pick a good person. Because if you pick a good woman, she's going to follow you and respect you. You pick a good man, he's going to be worth following and respecting. So from the beginning, respect is what makes a marriage. And some people, you know, you have to learn. There's a learning curve. I'll give it to some people. Some people come into relationships and they have their childhood experiences. Like some people grew up with fathers that were not present, so they don't know how to respect a man. Or some people grew up not even knowing how to treat women. That's a different story. You have to work on that. But respect, here's examples of respect. When someone talks to you and says something once, you listen. So that goes both ways. If your husband says, hey, I don't like you hanging out with so-and-so because they're rude and they always say bad things to me. It shouldn't be rocket science. It's a no-brainer. Someone talked bad about my husband to my husband. That's not someone I should be hanging out with. I don't care if they're my sister. If my sister disrespects my husband, I'm going to side with my husband because I pick this man. So your disrespect to him is disrespect to me. Period. If your wife says, hey, can you please help? I need help picking up the kids. Like, she doesn't have to tell you every single day, hey, go pick up the kids from school. You just know, and you do that. And that's because there's respect for each other there, right? So that's one example of respect. Another example of respect is when you're not around the person you're with, you act the same way as you would act when they're around. And I'll give this example. If you are out, let's say you're a woman and you're out and you're hanging out with friends and friends are bashing their husbands and then they try to say something bad about your husband. I've never talked bad about my husband outside of her, ever. If I have a problem with my husband, I talk to my husband. We're one unit. Like, talking bad about my man is talking bad about myself because, again, it's a reflection on me. You can go about and be like, oh no, I'm just, unloading. There's no need to unload to strangers that are going to take this gossip and poison your marriage. Or friends, or family. Don't tell anyone your problems. Your problems, if you have a problem with someone, you go and you sit and you talk to them and you figure it out. You don't go and talk to every other person that can't help you. Why does that not make sense to people? If you don't like your husband not doing something, sit him down and tell him, hey, I don't like this. And then have good friends. If you have friends that you go to and when you talk about your husband, they tell you, leave him, he's not worth it, you're a queen. Those are not good friends. Those are just parrots. They're not worth having around. That type of friend is going to be around for fun times and leave in bad times. That friend doesn't even know what they're talking about and they're going to poison your marriage.
They're not even married half the time.
They aren't married half the time. Those friends are usually single and have absolutely no experience. And you'll see these memes all over social media, like women being like, I'm single, but I'm giving advice to all my friends like it's a good thing. It's not. You need the type of friend that tells you, hey, hold yourself accountable. What did you do? How did you ask? What was your tone? Now I'm going into the next thing. Second thing of respect is the way you talk to each other. There's a difference between coming to your husband and being like, did you take out the trash like I asked you? Or just being like, hey baby, I noticed the trash isn't taken out. Can you please, when you get a moment, take it out? Those are two same things. I'm asking him about the trash. But one, I'm coming in like I'm his mother and I'm trying to smack him around, which you can never outman a man. No matter what you do in life, you can never outman a man. You come in and you try to be macho and masculine, guess what? He's a real macho and masculine guy. Use the feminine. If you're a woman, use your womanness. Like, society tells these women, go head to head with men when you have the magic power to get anything you want from your man. With a smile, with softness, being sweet. All of these things get you what you want. But it's your ego and everything else that you take in from everyone else that tells you you have to yell at him, you have to fight him, you have to be a man. No. Be a soft woman and you'll get what you want. So the way you speak, even if you're angry, you shouldn't take a tone with your husband. You shouldn't be passive aggressive. You shouldn't raise your voice. Even husbands, don't raise your voice at your wife. Don't cuss. Don't say things that you wouldn't say in public. Don't treat your spouse bad behind closed doors and then be amazing to them out in public. Treat them amazing everywhere. That's how it should be. Be kind, be gentle. And if you are angry, here's a tip for you. If, let's say, something really upsets you and you're so angry, that is not the time to go and talk to someone. Because right now your emotions are running high. Even scientifically, you cannot process what you're going to do. Even when you talk to people in prison, they always say it was 15 seconds of anger, why I shot the guy or did the horrible thing I did. Because you have no control over your brain when you're under that stressful situation. So when you're angry, even the Prophet ﷺ said, La taghdab, la taghdab, la taghdab, 3 times, don't get angry. Sit down, lie down, do wudu, go for a walk, write. I'm a big proponent, write. Type on your phone, delete it after, cleanse it out of your system, but do not take the fire and anger and go unleash it on someone because you're not going to resolve anything that way. If you want to fight, go do that. If you don't want to fight, go figure out to get that energy out, calm yourself down, and when you're calm, go sit with them and talk to them about what you want. So those are super important because respect is the base of a marriage. If you don't have respect for each other, then you're like strangers in the street. I don't owe anybody anything, but I owe my husband respect, and that's just a non-negotiable. If you want a happy marriage, you have to have respect. It goes both ways. But I always say, when I'm talking to people, I say it starts with you. You have to have the respect first if you want it. Whatever you want in life, you have to foster it in yourself first. The second thing I want to talk about is trust. Like, that's a big one in a marriage, especially when people are single and they're trying to figure out, who should I marry? How do I know if I trust this person? Will this person be with me? Actually, it's very easy to know how to trust someone. It's by actually trusting them. And you start by trusting them with little things. You start by trusting them little by little, but also building that trust in them on yourself. And trust comes with commitment. A lot of people don't understand this. But if I commit to someone, I say, okay, I'm gonna marry my husband, then part of committing to him means getting rid of the guys I talk to. I don't have any guy friends. Getting rid of anyone that might be any type of problem. Like, showing that I'm committed to you. Being invested in what is his passion, what does he like, what is he interested in? What can I learn about him? What can I help him achieve? A big part of being committed to someone is being able to give your energy to them. And this is for after marriage, but sex is a big part too. And we talk about that all the time. Go on the page, look at all the videos and the importance of it. But there's no commitment, there's no marriage. There's no respect, there's no trust, there's no marriage. You have to have this level of commitment. And by the way, I'm not saying being committed doesn't mean you can have a second wife or a third wife. I'm talking about commitment to all your wives. Be committed to all 4, all 3, all 2, all 1. But part of being committed is just showing them that you care about them, that you prioritize their needs, that you make sure that whatever they need, they're good. And I tell men, don't waste time playing in the streets. If you know a girl isn't interested in being a second wife or a third wife, don't try to convince her. Because if you successfully convince her, guess what? You're going to bring her into the household and she's going to bring drama. You need someone that's already convinced by themselves. They don't need a lot of convincing. That's if you're single. If you're married and you're trying to convince your current wife to have a second, third wife, fourth wife, I'm going to release a series on exactly how to do it step by step. But I'm going to tell you now, the best thing you can do if you want to convince her you want a second wife, you have to have a good first marriage. You have to show her that you are an amazing husband. And that's never going to change. Even if you bring a second, in fact, if you bring a second or third woman, you're going to be an even better man. And that can only be shown through action and time. So if you think you talk to her one day and then the next day she's going to agree, no, you got to give her some time. And if you actually want this to be a sustainable thing, treat the first woman amazing, and she'll be the one that'll go out and find you second wife, third wife, fourth wife. And that's a better perk. You know why? Because your first wife already knows everything you like. She knows who you are. She knows you to your core. So she'll pick someone that'll be amazing for you. She knows you better than anyone else. And that's the truth. But a lot of people don't look at it from this perspective. If you do it right, God rewards you. You will feel better. Lots of men, sometimes they feel unhappy and angry and dissatisfied because maybe they're not getting what they need from their wife, but because they're not being honest, they have to lie and cheat behind her back. And I know this doesn't make a lot of men feel good. I know a lot of men hate to do that. They love their woman. They're not getting everything they need, and that's okay. Thank you, Promise for the Rose. That's okay. I hate when I tell people, bring your husband more women, and they say, oh, I'm not enough for my husband. No, you're not enough for your husband. It's not something to feel ashamed about. That's just how they're born. That's just how they're created. Don't take it personally. There's so many examples in our history, in our Islam, like from our prophets. Thank you, Pubudu, and thank you, Hermano. From our prophets to kings, you look at the past. Even today, there's so many men that are married that have mistresses, that have like other secret families. Why you bring this stress on yourself? You're a man. Be a man. Be honest about what you want. Say, this is what I want. And don't be honest about what you want. Force it on her and don't treat her right. Thank you, Manashi, for the rose. Be honest and be the best husband. Be an amazing husband and have another wife. Have a third wife. Have a fourth wife. God allowed it. And when you treat your wife right, she'll allow it too. And for wives watching this, don't let your ego stand in the way of your husband's happiness. He will never do the same for you. He never ever lets his ego stand in your happiness. He gets up and goes to a job that he might not like. Thank you, Varsha, for the gift. He gets up and handles and deals with people that he can't stand because he knows he's responsible for bringing the money home, for taking care of you. Think he wants to do all that stuff? Absolutely not. He doesn't want to do that stuff. Thank you, Henry. He'd rather hang at home with his wife and not do anything. Like, he'd rather chill. But he puts his ego aside. He goes to these jobs. He deals with the stupidest people so that you can have a home, you can have clothes, you can have nice things. So if you love your husband, you'll put your ego aside. Thank you, Henry, for the gift. Put it aside. It's not that big of a deal. Society has put it in our minds that, oh my God, if your husband looks at another woman, you are not enough. And then they tell women you have to be everything at the same time. It's so stupid. As a woman, you have to make your life easy, sister. Trust me. Trust me. When you get over this little hill, because you see it as a hill if you're not used to these ideas. You see it as, how will I, what will I do? My husband will be with another woman. Oh my God. And then you see women that are married and they have husbands who have other wives. They're chilling. They're telling you, I'm good. My husband's with his other wife and then he's going to go to the other wife and I have like 2 weeks for myself. I'm going to be working on a book I'm writing, a project I'm working on. I get to hang out with my kids more. They get to do more for themselves because they have more time. The biggest complaint women always give me is, I don't have time for myself. Then bring your husband another wife. You'll have a lot of time for yourself. And it won't be at the expense of your man. It won't be. So if you're a man, do it right. And the reason, I'm going to tell you, a lot of women, they do this and it's not fair. I'm going to address it. They'll say, I heard so-and-so married a woman and then he didn't treat the other one right and blah, 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 blah. And they'll tell you one story about one guy that they don't even know. They heard about the story from someone else who heard about the story from someone else. And even when they know the person, they don't actually know his side. They just heard one side from the woman that came and complained to them and gossiped to them. So they don't actually know what a healthy polygamous marriage looks like. They have no idea. But you know what they say, poison spreads faster than good news, right? Negative news is easier to talk about. So that's what's going in a lot of women's minds. They're like, oh, the men just want to use a woman's body and all this garbage that people just keep repeating to them. Thank you, Walter, for the rose. The reality is the more men that do this right, the more their women will say, hey, no, that's not true. Those men that you heard all those stories about, that's just a bad man. I know great men. I know men that take care of all their wives. Their wives are best friends. They have the best relationships. They are the happiest men and they're the richest men because they have more motivation. They're not busy wasting their time watching porn, hurting their hearts. They're not scamming their wives and lying and cheating and going to the clubs and a mistress and hurting her feelings and worried about her feelings. They're not in the drama. They have one wife, two wife, three wife, four wife. They go deal with their wives and then they focus on bigger things. They focus on bringing better things to our community. So thank you, Gabby, for the rose. The reality is it's the man. A man can do it well or he can do it not well. And you have to be the person that picks a good man. Pick a good man. And if you're married and your husband wants to and you think, my husband's not a good man, make him a good man. You're his wife. Now you're a unit. You already committed to him. What is it that he's not doing well? He's not making enough money? Help him. Tell him, hey, let's start a business. Thank you, بالوالدين إحسانا. Thank you. Whatever it is, set the standard. Like, make it like a goal. Put it up. Be like, second wife, you need to make 100K a year or whatever the number in your country is to make sense. Like in our household, you'll say we spend this much. Then if you want a second wife, she's going to need her own house. These are the numbers. Make it real for him. Show him, hey, if you bring in this much, I'll find you the second wife. If he needs to learn how to treat you or take you on date nights or these things, tell him he needs to be better at these things because women like a romantic man. Take advantage of the situation for yourself. Make your man a better man and have a prize for him at the end, which is you get a second wife. Second wives isn't just prizes, by the way. It's a responsibility. I'm using these words just to make it easier to understand. But the reality is, it's not easy. Like people love to say, oh, men just want to have more sex and blah, blah, blah. They're just these, whatever. It's not just about that. It's a sense of pride. It's a sense of having more kids. Men love to have lots of kids. And sometimes the wife doesn't want to have a lot of kids. This eases the burden. It even motivates him more when he knows, okay, there's 2 women that need my support. I can't just be in a 9 to 5. I need to build a business. And then it'll push him. He's not worried. His mind isn't in all the garbage. His mind is motivated. So trust me when I tell you it's a mindset. Pick a good man and have a good mind. When your husband is with his other wife, don't sit there like, oh my God, what is he doing with the other woman? And like, she's another woman. She's not another woman. She's his wife. Like you're his wife, she's his wife. And it's none of your business what he's doing with her. Absolutely none of your business. When he's with you, you focus on being a good wife and having the best relationship. When he's not with you, you focus on being a good person, enjoying yourself, trying to figure out how to be happy or figure out what you're doing in this world. I just can't stand. And sometimes I'll sit and I'll talk with sisters that will meet me randomly, and they'll be like, no, I don't want my husband to marry a second wife. And by the end of the conversation, they're like, you know what, maybe I'll look into it. Sometimes you just have to remind people of the goodness. Our brains, they're wired to think of negative things. If I told you, tell me 20 things you're grateful for and 20 problems right now, it'll be easier for you to come up with the 20 problems. Very easy. My head aches yesterday. I stubbed my toe. I didn't sleep good. My brother's fighting with me. My job isn't paying me. You'll have the 20 like that. But the gratitude, you'll sit and you'll be like, what am I grateful for? Like it'll take more time to figure it out. And that's why you have to train your mind. When I tell you it's a mindset, thank you, Stardust, for the rose. It's a mindset. You have to train your mind. Thank you, Sophisticated, for the rose. Train your mind. Train your mind to think well. It's even in Islam. You give 70 excuses to your brother or sister. Thank you, Lauren, for the fire. 70 excuses. So if you want to think bad of your wife or bad of your husband, thank you, Nyako. I hope I said your name right, but thank you for the roses. 70, do you know how hard it is to come up with 70? I told you come up with 20 things you're grateful for. Now come up with 70 things, excuses for why something happened. Like if your husband was angry and maybe he didn't take out the trash. Thank you, Mr. Positive. Give him 70 excuses. Maybe he's tired, maybe he didn't see it, maybe he's busy, maybe... I can't come up with more than 5. And the point isn't to just come up with excuses. The point is to train your mind not to think of negative things. Think well of each other. Husn al-dhan. Have good thought of each other. And when you have that, it'll make your life easier. The negativity. Most people, thank you, Mr. Positive, for the rose. Most people, when they go out, they think negatively. But not just that. They think other people think negatively about them. So twice as much negativity. That's because their mind is filtered with negativity. So when you clean your mind and you make it a positive experience for yourself, it's going to be easier to, 1, have peace in your head, and 2, think well of others. And that'll translate into all aspects of your life. Even if your husband has 4 wives, you'll be happy. You'll be like, when I have my time with my husband, it's the best time. Thank you, Stardust, for the rose. When I spend time with my husband, because I cherish my husband and I respect him and I don't look for problems, we have the best time. And don't be the wife that sits there like, how much did you spend on her? How come she gets a new car and I don't? How come she gets a new house and I don't? She doesn't have a house. To have a house, it has to be built. And that is new. It's not because your husband's rich. He's trying to house his new wife, okay? That's all that's happening. You have had a new house when you went to the house. 15, 20 years you've had a house to yourself. Say, alhamdulillah. Don't let the shaitan come and tell you, oh, she got a new car. She didn't have a car. You have had a car. Thank you, Z. It doesn't always have to be the exact same. Doesn't mean if he buys her a rose, he buys you a rose. Maybe roses are easy. Brothers, buy roses for all your wives. But if he's buying her a trip to Hajj, and you went to Hajj last year, you don't have to say, I need to go again this year. Thank you, Z, for the gift. There's a word in Arabic, it's called qana'a. Qana'a just means be happy with God, what God has given you. Don't always look at what others have, even if she's your husband's other wife. Don't do that, because you don't know where she's starting from. She has a lot to do. She's a new woman. She's coming into a relationship. She's nervous. There's already a wife. She feels like she has to live up to the expectation. Thank you, Z. Nobody ever looks at the second wife's experience, the third wife's experience. It's not easy. coming in and getting to know a new man who already has a wife, so he has an expectation for how you should behave, and you're a different person, and now you have to learn and catch up. But it's not a competition either, sister. Do your best, learn, it's a learning curve. And brothers, don't compare your wives. Don't do that. Thank you, Z, for all the gifts. Thank you. Don't compare your wives. That's not fair to them, and that's not fair to anyone. If you're a parent, don't compare your kids. If you've been in relationships, the worst thing you can do is be like my ex. People hate that. Nobody likes to be compared. Each of us is unique, and we have our own gifts. Find out what you're good at, inshallah, and bring that into your marriage. That's something I just was at the top of my mind I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I'm very passionate about this topic. I want to get some water. I will be right back. 1 second. Thank you. There's something else actually I just remembered, and just for the sake of it, because sometimes I hear these conversations. Let me get my water. Thank you, Alastura, and thank you, Z, for the roses. You know, sometimes, and this is just to help some wives, sometimes you'll see like your husband is paying for rent for his wife back home. And maybe you're the new wife, you know? Maybe the wife is back home and you're the new wife. Thank you, Z, for the gift. But the wife back home has 6 kids to feed. And you're alone. But for you, you get mad. Why is he paying for her whole rent and me only, you know, like I'm living with him and we're struggling? Or whatever it is. I've heard some women talk about this. First of all, yeah, the brother shouldn't have done that. You know, he should have been more financially prepared. But life happens. Thank you, Queen Do, for the rose. Life happens. We don't always control everything. The only thing you can control is your actions. So he's prioritizing the woman that has 6 kids so they don't get thrown out into the street. And he's like, we'll figure it out together. And maybe you guys take a bit of a cut. So what? Be generous. Thank God for what you have. You might have a blessing where you are that the wife back home doesn't have. You have the husband with you, and she has 6 kids and she's alone back home. So stop, you know, like don't let the shaitan come and nit and pick and make you feel like, oh, this wife's better, that wife's better. Thank you, Z. Thank you, Masi, for the gifts. I want to talk about appreciation. That's the next thing. It's like you have to learn to appreciate your man, right? By the way, I'm going to take a quick break. If you're not following Collectively Married, follow Collectively Married. I post a lot of informational videos that talk about things that are not talked about in our culture, in the world. I talk about men's perspective, how to have a happy marriage, but I also talk about women's perspective, being second wives, third wives. All of these things, they're important for us as humans so we learn how to get along. Because the reality is there's so many people that'll come and say, my husband cheated on me. And then I'm like, okay, sit down and tell me more. And like, when was the last time you were intimate with your man? And I'm like, 4 months ago? What? Like, you for 4 months you didn't take care of your husband? Did he cheat? And then she's like, no, he married another woman behind my back. First, the brother shouldn't have done that. I agree, that was wrong. But you also have some accountability. You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to say, hey, did I do my wifely duties? Did I take care of my man? I don't care where you are in the world, you have to understand this. Marriage is about one thing. It's the intimacy. If you're not giving intimacy, everything else doesn't matter. It falls apart. Why is intimacy only saved for marriage in Islam? It says only after marriage it's halal. And not even halal, ibadah. It's ibadah, you get good deeds for it. But before you get sins. If you do intimacy before marriage, you get sins. After marriage, it's ibadah. There's a reason. It protects your marriage from shaitan. It makes your life better. It builds trust. It builds commitment and empathy for each other and so many things. If you're not doing those things, are you even a wife? That's the real question. You're cooking for him, you're cleaning for him, you're doing his laundry. A maid can do all of that. The difference between is literally intimacy. So make sure you're being intimate with your husband. If you're not being intimate with your husband, that's it. And when I'm talking about intimacy, I'm talking about sex. I'm not just talking about hug him, kiss him. I'm talking about sex. You have to have that with your man. If not, then he's not your man. And today, More than anywhere else in the world is full of pictures of women, naked women, out in the streets, everywhere. They use the bodies of women to sell. So you're literally letting this man go tortured. You're not taking care of him. His only options is to look at random women and make other women feel uncomfortable. So not only are you hurting your husband, you, by your action, are hurting other women, because now they have to deal by a man looking at them weird. And then when he decides, you know what, enough is enough, I don't want to do haram, I'm going to marry someone so that I protect myself and just do it in the halal way, you say he cheated on you. Now, that's not fair, sister. Hold yourself accountable. And don't let it get to that point. If you feel like, okay, maybe I'm not as active in the bedroom and I need to have more time and he wants it more than I give, then get him a second wife. The solution is simple. And some women complain, but really their husbands only ask for 5 minutes a night. They're not asking for a lot of time. At the end of the night, he wants 5 minutes of your attention and he's good. If you can't give him 5 minutes and he's giving you 9 to 5, that's not fair. We gotta look into perspective. And if you come to me and you tell me it's not just about sex, go talk to your husband. It really is just about it for him. It is. Sometimes they're too shy to tell you. The media, all these stories about romance and love at first sight. Thank you, Sana, for the gift. All of this stuff, they feed you with garbage. Marriage is work. Just like you get dressed, put on your best clothes, you go to work and you try to impress your boss and you do the best you can, that's marriage. Wake up, brush your teeth, put on a little makeup, put a nice outfit on, don't be in your pajama. Look good and try to impress your husband, because that's the way we keep them. And same for husbands. Don't just be like, I went to work and that was enough. That's not enough. You would go to work even if you're single, because you need money to survive. You as a lady would cook and clean and do laundry, maybe a little bit less laundry, but you would still do all of those things if you were alone. So if you just sit and ask yourself, if I would do this thing whether I'm married or not, that's not for your marriage. If I don't do this thing unless I'm married, then that is for your marriage. And that's why I tell you, intimacy is important. And if you're not enjoying it, you have to be honest with your partner. Tell your partner what you like, what you don't like, and don't judge each other. Because you guys are married to each other and you're married for your entire lives. If you cannot take care of each other, it's actually a sin to not have your wife enjoy intimacy with you. Did you know that? The Prophet encouraged foreplay, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He encouraged it strongly. It's a sunnah mu'akkada that he would never just have intimacy like that. You can't come at the end of the night and be like, I'm ready, take care of me. No. They asked him, the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يقعن أحدكم على امرأته كالبهيمة وليكن بينكم رسول. Don't fall on your woman like an animal, because animals don't have foreplay. They just jump on each other. He said, let there be a messenger between you. And they asked him, ﷺ, what is the messenger? He said, al-qibla wal-kalam, meaning kissing and sweet words. So you have to start with foreplay. Your wife is not ready as you're ready. You're ready, she's not ready. She just got off. And the best thing, I'm going to give advice to the ladies. Go take a shower, relax your mind, be mentally prepared, and then go to bed. And when you go to bed, your husband will be there. Husbands, obviously, you also take a shower, be clean and all of that. Because hygiene is #1 in intimacy. A lot of couples will say they don't enjoy intimacy. It's because they don't enjoy their bodies and the smells that are coming from each other. You need to smell good. So hygiene is important. But I'm telling women to take a shower and reset your mind, because a lot of times for ladies, it's a mental block. When you were excited about your husband, before he was your husband, let's say he was coming to take you out, just you two, you wrote the nikah, and now the wedding is in a few weeks, but you got to go out with him. You got excited, you took a shower, you got ready, you were just dreaming about the night with him. Mentally, you prepared yourself to be ready for your man. Thank you, Marcus, for the gift. You have to do the same in marriage. It's not impossible. So if you come and tell me, I have kids, I have a house, I have a job. Yeah, everybody has those things. That's a stupid excuse. Have a better schedule. Put your kids to sleep an hour earlier. Who cares? Put them in their room, turn off the lights and say, hey, go to sleep. Like this, it's that simple. You're exhausted, figure out a schedule at home. Have the older kids help with the dishes, help with the chores. We baby our kids and we try to do everything just as an excuse to not take care of our men. That's the shaitan. That is. Mentally prepare yourself. Physically prepare yourself. You need energy, take an energy drink. Prepare like literally a tray of dessert or something for you. Go into the bedroom with your husband after you showered. Like, spend time. There's ways to do it. One and done, thank you for the gift. But you have to like decide I'm gonna do it. Just like you decide, hey, I'm gonna work out and be the best shape of myself and like, you know, read all these books and do all these things. You can decide to have a good marriage, or you can decide to have a bad one. If you want to have a good one, stop watching all this garbage online. Thank you, H. Sarah, for the rose, and Mahbubo for the rose. Don't watch this garbage online. Thank you, FK, for the cap. And when I say garbage, I'm talking about women that come up here and tell you, you don't need no man, you're independent, blah, blah, blah. Like, men ain't, whatever. You know what? Whenever I see that, I'm just like, you've been hurt by a man. And men don't want you. And so instead of fixing the problems in you, thank you, Hakuna, for the rose. You come and you tell other women men are the problem. But the problem is you. You were not picked. You were hurt. Maybe you were used. And so now you come and you unload all of that anger onto other women. And unfortunately, women are followers. We're emotional beings, so we act on emotion. We're emotional spenders. We will do everything based on our emotion. And so when one woman comes online and she tells us she went through a horrible time, you're naturally going to feel for her and be like, yeah, those men are horrible. And you didn't even hear anything about those men. There's no logic, because we're like that. Allah created us to be emotional. So if you're drawn to someone, stop watching that content. It's not good for you. Everything you consume is who you are. Thank you, H. Sarah, for the rose. So consume content that's good. And I've seen so many women now. I didn't used to see this before. Last year, I didn't even see any videos like this. But now, and I say, alhamdulillah, the message is spreading. There's so many women that say, take care of your husband, respect your husband, obey your husband. They say all the things that men have wanted for years. Thank you, Shayla. So you can find infinite women to follow that will give you good advice, right? So do that. Surround yourself with things that'll be good for your marriage, that'll be good for your mind. Don't take other people's pain. Be aware of your energy. Protect yourself. Take a quick sip of water. And let me tell you something. If you're in a marriage and you want to leave the marriage, I'm going to give you some advice before you take a drastic step that'll ruin your life. Do an audit on your behavior. Okay? And I'm so serious. This might offend you, but actually do it. Is your husband attracted to you? That's number one. And by attracted to you, I mean, are you in good physical shape? Do you wear good clothes, or are you in garbage clothes all day? Do you smell good? Do you shower, or do you shower once every 2 weeks? There's women like that. That's the first thing. Because the second you divorce this man, the first thing you're going to do is work on your outer appearance. Everybody does it. Even if you come and tell me, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm done with men, that's a lie. When you're ready for it, the first step you're going to do is make sure I am presented in the best form possible to attract the best spouse possible. So the number one thing is do an audit on yourself. Are you in that best shape and form? And if not, that's okay. Get in that best shape and form. Even if you can't lose 50 pounds overnight and you're 300 pounds, whatever. If you start wearing a bit of makeup, wearing a dress, you can look cute at any weight. But try to do stuff that makes you attractive for your husband, because you're going to do that the second you get a divorce. Number two, you're going to work on things that make you happy. You're going to work on being, if you like painting, you're going to find classes to go and paint. If you like jogging, you're going to go. Yeah.
You got some?
Mm-hmm. If you like to jog, you're going to go jog. If you like hanging out with your friends, you're going to make time for them. A lot of people in marriage will say no to their friends. They say, no, I'm not trying to hang out. I'm busy tonight, or I'm tired, or I just want to watch Netflix. But when you're single, you're going to be out at every event. That's the reality. So you're going to do the same for yourself in the marriage. This is before you ask for a divorce. You're going to make sure you look good, you're attractive, you're going to make sure you're internally happy. These things that I'm telling you are things that make you happy. Like doing the stuff that actually makes you happy. Because a lot of people, you ask them, when is the last time you did something that made you happy? And they'll tell you college. Or was it 4th grade? Like, no wonder you're miserable. No wonder you want a divorce. You think it's the man, but really it's you. Because even if you change that man up, The next man you get with, you're going to be just as miserable. And you know what you'll do? You'll say men are the problem. You won't say it's you. Because nobody wants to say they're the problem. Everybody will say it's that guy, that guy, that guy. I'm perfect. Men are horrible. And the reality is you're horrible inside. You're not happy. You're angry. You're miserable. You're unhealthy. You are angry at yourself and you take it out on everybody around you. So that's the first thing you have to focus. If you say, hey, I want to be out of my marriage, even if he has the worst behavior, like we're always fighting, he's rude, he's all these things. Like there's couples that are always fighting, but if they decide to fix it, I've seen a lot of marriages turn around and they don't regret it. I've never seen a couple that invested in their marriage and said, I regret fixing this marriage. Now that I've been married 50 years happily, I regret the time I invested. No, they're usually like, even couples that come back from cheating, couples that come back from, gambling their entire family, inheritance. There's so many big problems that couples can come back from because they decided to. So you have to mentally decide, I'm going to fix this. And this advice, I'm talking to women because I'm coming from a woman's perspective, but it can be applied to men as well. If you're unhappy with your wife and you feel like, oh, this isn't the right wife for me, the first thing you do is do an audit of yourself. What are you doing that's not helping this marriage? Because when we are real with ourselves, a lot of times we'll be able to solve at least 50% of the problem. And you can only control yourself. You cannot control your husband. You cannot control your wife. If you control yourself and you fix your behaviors and there's still a problem, the other person's the problem, then you know for sure it's just them, it's not me. But if you're a problem, you're not fixing yourself, and they're a problem, they're not fixing yourself, thank you, Vera Cruz, for the gifts. Then you guys are both the problem. You both got to fix yourselves, right? In our culture today, and when I say in our culture, I'm talking about as people on the internet, as people alive in this time, in this era, there's a lack of accountability. And there's a lack of empathy. We're in a society that makes it all about you. It's all about you. Are you happy? Are you good? Who cares about other people? No, pretend to care about other people because that reflects you. Pretend you care about others. Be nice to random strangers so nobody thinks bad about you. But at the end of the day, it's all about you. And no, thank you, Vera Cruz, for the rose. Thank you, Jing Gang and Vera Cruz, for the roses. Don't make it about yourself. Marriage is about the other person. It's about giving the best version of yourself to the other person. And when you make yourself the best version of yourself, you're going to be more confident. You're going to be more calm. You're going to be sexier. You're going to be smarter and funnier and happier. Thank you, FJ. You're going to be the person that your partner is going to be like, wow, I love that person. Like, I'm in love with that person. Like, you're the best version of yourself. I married the best person. They're going to be like that. But if they married the best version of you that was 10, 20 years ago, and today you're angry and bitter and unhappy and you're not doing anything that makes you feel alive, and well, what's the point, right? Marriage isn't just in the beginning. And if you watch movies, they never show you what happens after happily ever after. They've conditioned you to only work. They've shown you how to get someone and get married, but nothing beyond that. They don't show you how to have a happy marriage. And nobody ever like when you watch the news or TV, they don't talk to old couples. Very rare you watch old people give advice on TV, unless they're in politics. But there's no field where you see them actually just coming and sharing how did they stay married. And wallahi, when you hear stories of how people stayed married, if those women came and they talked at a rally with the mentality that a lot of women have today, unfortunately, those women would boo them. They'd be like, you had no choice. You stayed with him because blah, blah, blah. And they'd project all their anger onto these ladies. But the reality is, marriage is sacrifice. Marriage is committing to someone, realizing, hey, they're not perfect, I'm not perfect, but together we're going to achieve something beautiful. We're going to hold each other's hands through this life. When things get hard, we're together. When things get soft, we're together. That's the beauty of marriage. It's not like just about me. It's not a man to open doors for me and take care of me and buy me flowers and all these things. And it's not a woman who cooks for me, cleans for me, does everything for me, and that's it. It's not just about you. It's about the other person. So prioritize the other person. Appreciate the other person. Be grateful to them. If you're unhappy in a relationship right now, the best advice I'll give you, and do this, like pull up your notes and write 100 things you appreciate from your partner. 100 things. Because trust me, by the time you hit 70, you're going to realize, hey, I have an amazing partner. Amazing partner. I'm waiting for you guys. Write 100 things. No, I'm kidding. You can do it tonight or do it early in the morning, wherever you are, but actually do it. The mind is the most powerful thing we have, right? And I'm telling you this because sometimes it's easy for us to get lost in our thoughts. We think, she's cheating on me. She's so disrespectful. She's always disrespectful. This woman is not a good woman, blah, blah, blah. And then you tell yourself this again and again and again and again and again. Guess what? Your brain is so powerful, it'll make you believe that's a reality. So even when your wife does something good, you're gonna think, that's not true, that's not real. Because you've told yourself again and again the reality that you believe, which is so insane because you can tell yourself the reality that you will believe. If you believe your husband's not a good man, you're going to tell yourself, he's so rude, he's so angry, he never does anything, and then that becomes your reality, but you told yourself that reality. Thank you, Muhammad, for the rose. So start thinking well of each other. Tell yourself, my husband's an amazing chef. Look at the great things he did. My husband has the best ideas. He takes us out into the greatest places. He takes care of the kids really well. He gave me a great massage. Whatever it is, think positively. My wife always makes sure I'm good. My clothes is always clean and ironed and stacked and folded. You know, my wife supports me. Every business idea I have, she's right behind me. Think positively of each other. I'm giving random examples, but I want you to think about your own marriage and how to make it better. Thank you, FJ, for the gift. Actually, just because I'm interested in knowing who is single and who is married here and who is in a relationship, I'm putting up a poll right here. You guys see it? It's going to be 4 minutes, so I want all 400 of you to take this poll, like 400 and something.
Do you want this again for a sec?
Sure, yeah. So make sure you vote. I only see 12 votes coming in, 20. Okay, they're coming in. Good.
And I don't know if you want to change this right there.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll grab it. One sec.
Something else that I see a lot of couples struggle with is forgiveness. And this ties into conflict resolution. You come and you're fighting about something, but the reality is you have pain from stuff you haven't forgiven your partner about. And all of that comes to the front. So the fight isn't about one thing, it's about a history. Thank you, Sana. Right? It's about a history. So you have to forgive if you want to be married. It can't be like every time we fight, I bring everything bad you did and tell you it. Thank you, Hersey. Thank you, Abang, for the gifts. You can't be like that. You have to think well of your partner, but you also have to forgive. Get used to that. Make that muscle an easy muscle. Forgive. And part of forgiving means you're not allowed to bring it back up. I don't care what happened. If your husband cheated on you and you decided, I'm going to forgive him, that doesn't mean you bring it up every time you feel bad. You have a duration to talk about it. But if you only bring it up when you're fighting, that means you haven't forgiven him and you're using it to punish him. Thank you, Michael, for the gift. So be aware of that. The more you're forgiving people, your husband or your wife easily, the better your marriage is going to be. You're not going to have problems from 20 years ago. You're going to be fixing problems as they come. Because a lot of people end up getting a divorce or separating. Thank you, Abang, for the roses. Because they don't know how to resolve issues. They're like stuck on the same thing. It's like, my God, she made a mistake the first day of your marriage. You're 20 years in. Get over it. Get over it. She made a mistake. We're learning. When we get married, no one's been married before. Some people have, but most of us are getting married for the first time. And even if you're married for the second time, you don't know this person. They don't know you. Doesn't matter how much you talk to them before you got married. You don't know someone until you live with them. So have that ease of forgiveness. Thank you, Qasim. Don't take everything like, oh, my enemy. They're not your enemy. They're your husband or your wife. You guys are one. And if you want to be happily married for a long time, you have to make that an easy thing, forgiving. Right? I'm like thinking about different couples that I've talked to, and sometimes the biggest and the hardest thing to do is to forgive, you know? And the reason why it's so hard is because they don't have the ability to be vulnerable with each other, to say how much it actually hurt them. You know, and I'm talking to men a lot of times because men hold on to things, you know, women too, trust me, but women can cry and that kind of eases the pain for them. But a lot of men, thank you, Danny, they don't feel like they can cry and do all these things that eases the pain. And so they hold on to it, and they don't even want to say that something hurt them because they're afraid that it'll make them look weak. It's like, no, you're her husband. Yeah, hurt and pain, we're humans. You know, you feel it in your heart. This is a woman you love. She hurt your heart. She's not a girlfriend that hurt you and is going to leave. She's a woman that's staying there. So you have to be honest about it. You have to say, like, this really hurts me. Because sometimes men, instead of crying, they get angry. And that's for you ladies to understand, right? Men will not cry, but they'll get angry. And so you have to understand that anger isn't always the same anger you have. Anger is usually pain. So if you see your husband angry, that means he's in pain, and you have to figure out what it is. As partners, that's your job. You have to have that, like, awareness.
You're welcome. Pick it on me.
Okay, so about 6 seconds. Okay, so 50% of you are married, 30% of you are single, 7% married and looking, and 8% in a relationship. By the way, married and looking just means you're looking for a second wife, third wife. I don't condone stepping out on your marriage. It's why I say marry second, third, and fourth. Thank you, Abang, for the gift. But
What's the poll?
50% married. So half of the people here are married.
What's the rest?
34% single, 7% married and looking, and 8% in a relationship.
Okay.
Regardless, yeah, it's a good divide. So regardless of what level you're in, I want to tell you, everything I teach I've written books about. So if you go to collectivelymarried.com, if you click on my link, you go to my website, there are books that'll teach you how to find your soulmate if you're single, how to stay married if you're married, how to have confidence. So if you want to learn how to get your relationship from a relationship to marriage, all of these things. The books are very informative, and they have step-by-step how to move to the next level. And if you're interested in learning everything, and how to make money online, I have a course that I put everything in it together. It's on my website. You can sign up for it. It's video. I know a lot of people don't like reading. Sometimes they prefer video. But go check it out, collectivelymarried.com. One of the biggest things that'll help you, and not just in relationships, if you want to win in life, in anything, you have to be open to learning, open to growing. Because when you are, and I know you guys are, you've sat through this live where I'm teaching you how to have a happy marriage, how to be better in terms of wives and husbands. Even if you're single and you're not married, this all will help you for when you get married, inshallah. But that means you already are. Yeah, the course also covers how to find someone to marry. But the fact that you guys stuck through this means that you guys are interested in learning. So I'm telling you, if you want, go to collectivelymarried.com, check out the resources. I'm about to go hang out with my husband because that's what's important in life. By the way, tip. If you say I want quality time with my wife or my husband, just remember any time you have with them is quality time if you decide to make it like that. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening, the rest of your day. If you're married, go give your wife a kiss. Go give your husband a kiss. Make sure you guys are intimate. If you're fighting, go forgive each other. Don't let the shaitan come between you. If you're single, may Allah give you the best husband or wife. Thank you, H. Sarah, for the gift. And if you're in a relationship, may Allah help you get married, get to the next level, change your relationship status into I'm married, inshallah. So thank you guys again for joining the live, and go check out collectivelymarried.com. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.